Hello friends, thank you for tuning in to ThinkerViews podcasts where we share our book reviews with you. As the world has commemorated a century of the end of World War I, books featuring events from World Wars I and II have been a continuous stream over the last few years, especially as writers research and write about lesser-known battles in far-flung corners of the world. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands have been a rich tropical paradise that until the arrival of Europeans in the 1800s harbored tribes that went back in time almost 60,000 years and could be traced back to the continental drifts from Africa. But with colonization came powerful weapons, violence, and diseases. Also, the islands became the place of imprisonment when the British constructed the cellular jail in Port Blair. But in a more recent past, the islands also suffered the Japanese invasion in the later years of World War II and were caught in the battles between the Allied and the Axis forces. Writer Aimee Liu has created a story featuring a young couple and their infant son as they get caught into the whirlpool of events of these times in her book called Glorious Boy. The setting of the book was intriguing enough for us to read this book, so here is our review of this book on behalf of Team ThinkerViews. Let us take a look at the cover page of this book, the gateway to the fictional story explored within. The unusual shades of colors shown on the cover page gives an impression of an attractive digital item. The thin fronts used for the title and the author's name adds to the impact of the cover page. Also, the face of a boy looking from the title is placed very intelligently. The natural background looks in sync, so overall an eye-catching cover page. The storyline was something like this. It is March 1942 and Dr. Seth Durant and his wife Claire are facing the day of evacuation. They must leave the home on Andaman Nikobar Islands that they have called home for last few years if they are to get back to safety from the uncertainties of the war that is knocking on the door now. In the frantic need to pack all her study specimens from the last few years of her studies of the local tribes, Claire asks Nyla to take her son Ty away for a while. Keep him out of the way. At 4 years old, Ty doesn't speak. He is a willful, insightful child whose closest friend in the world is his caretaker Nyla, a child of 13 herself. The children wander away to a tree hideout and fall asleep. By the time they come back to the house, it is too late. Seth had to inject Claire with sedatives to get her on board the last leaving ship. There is no escape left to the three of them now. In desperation, he tells all his acquaintances that he cannot find either Ty or Nyla. Claire had been studying the local tribe of Biak, and it is to their care and fate that Seth now must entrust the lives of Nyla and Ty. He sends both in the forest with Leo, their link with the tribal people. Soon enough, the Japanese arrive on the island and an era of brutality starts. Remaining Europeans and islanders are tortured and Seth is executed along with his remaining friends. On the other side of the Bay of Bengal, Claire arrives in Calcutta, with guilt swarming through every pore of her and with no way to find out what is happening to Seth and Ty. She meets her sister-in-law Viv here and joins the code-breaking unit at Barakpur in hopes of finding something of her family. When the ex-police superintendent Dennis Ward arrives to Calcutta, he brings the news that Tai and Naila were never found. Slowly Claire comes up with the idea of developing a code for the armed forces based on the Bia language, and fate sees her coming back to the island as part of a 4-man intelligence gathering unit led by Dennis Ward. It is here that she finds out that her husband was executed months ago. While she still harbors a crazy hope to find her son alive after almost a year since she left the island, there is really no way to get him with the dangers facing them through this hostile land at every step. And what did happen to Naila and Tai? How long will the tribe of Bia be safe with the armed invaders coming closer to them every day? To find out the answers to this question, you need to read the book. Now on to our thoughts on the book. The book starts with following lines. The fish in the water is silent. The animal on the earth is noisy. The bird in the air is singing. But man has in him the silence of the sea, the noise of the earth, and the music of the air. A poem by Rabindranath Tagore called Stray Birds. While my first reason to pick up this book was the premise, I found that the story and the characters pull you in right away as well. As you see Seth and Claire come together, one a British subject born in Shanghai, the other an American girl with hopes to become an ethnographer, in their journey to the Andamans, they're building a family while still coming to terms with the tragedies of their past and losses and their struggles to balance a love for the forest and the need to study the flora and fauna and the ancient tribes around them, and an intelligent and strong-willed child. Neither of them fully seem to understand. Increasingly, this leads to Claire questioning herself and her motivations and her ambitions. Dare to be ambitious, to see your opportunities and seize them. But ambition is worthless unless it is rooted in human understanding. But it is after the events turn for a worse in the moment of chance that we see how truly fate is playing a hand in making puppets of them. And it is only in these times of trouble that we see the strength of their characters, and at the end of it all, an ability to change, survive, and above all, forgive those who survived. The author also shows how unpredictable love is, and yet how easy it is for humans to connect, only if you move past the barriers built by no one but ourselves. When Tai has no words, he connects to Naila through their shared language of signs and peace, and they both connect to the Bia people when fate brings them there after they have lost everything they know. It is in this world that they learn to live at peace with nature, birds, beasts, predators, and prey in this forest that could give and take life in a moment, and yet has no brutality or cruelty that could match that of the humans. Speech is transactional, but the non-verbal language of spirits was communal and emphatic. It was also the language of nature. Their time with Bia is richly detailed and in no way free of difficulties that also lead to another separation, and Liu, Naila, and Tai become their own units. And yet, neither of them lose the love they have for one another until they have to part ways again. These sections of the book are the ones I liked for the narrative and the rich beauty of the natural setting, mosquitoes and all. And what I liked most is how Tai learns observing and studying the world around him. We are nearly losing this as our children grow in the cities and towns of peacetime that have luxuries of internet and entertainment available 24/7 that takes away the need to ask questions and find answers. The book is generally well researched and well written and does paint a detailed picture of life in Andamans at the times. Through the separate thread of the warfare, we come across another lost way of the world and various viewpoints about the mixed heritage of a place like the Andamans, freedom movement of India, and the last vestiges of the British Raj. There are many points, expressions, and views in this area that you may or may not like. There are also a few errors here and there in the narrative. For example, when Claire and Ty comes back, it is mentioned that Ceylon stretched across them, but everything following suggests they are in Calcutta of the time. Apart from that and bit of a lost space in the middle, it is a good reading experience. And the takeaway from all the warfare is quite simple. The most difficult thing is to remember that enemy is human, but this is also the most important. So, in summary, it is an intriguing study of life in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands with a remarkable tale of survival and coming to terms with it. ThinkerViews rating for this book is at 7 out of 10. Please do let us know via comments if you have read this book or other works by author Aimee Liu. Is there any book that is a particular favorite of yours and you would like us to read and share the review of that with other book lovers? But until the next time, thank you for listening.